Somehow we are only a few days away from the Royal Rumble in the year 2020. And if you've been watching wrestling a long ass time like I have, when you were a kid and you were like watching the 93, 94, 95, 96 Royal Rumble, you probably thought when we get to the year 2020, the Royal Rumble is probably going to have aliens in it and spaceships and laser guns, or at least I did. But I was a really stupid kid, all right? I'm telling you, like the inner workings of my soul, don't bully me. But before we get to that pay-per-view, we have to go through the go-home episode of Raw. And I tell you, it was like a roller coaster. It was like this. Sometimes like, oh, I'm having fun. Then you were confused. And then you were having fun again. And then you were confused. But hey, I've got a show called Ups and Downs where we give the good bits an up and we give the bad bits a down. So it works very well for me. I'm Simon Miller. This is WhatCulture Wrestling trapped in my bubble. Let's up those damn downs. We do have a new group running roughshod over Monday Night Raw. And of course it is Seth Rollins and his boys Buddy Murphy and the Authors of Pain. And I really like it because when was the last time we did have four dudes who are in control on Monday nights? Especially Buddy Murphy was here. Buddy Murphy was in the opening promo to Raw. I mean, who saw that coming? Give it up. Rollins challenged the locker room to pick sides, and I kind of hope we do go somewhere with this. You could probably add maybe one, even two more people to this faction as long as it makes storyline sense. And if we do get to a point where some people are on Team Rollins and some people, I guess, are on Team Raw, you may have a bit of a Derby versus NWO thing, but just don't go that far with it. More subtle, more nuanced. Two men who have no interest in joining this group are Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, and they came out here and they were all like, well done, boys, you took out the Big Show. And I was like, do they mean like took him out for a meal or took him out shopping? They didn't do anything that bad to him last week, but apparently, even though he only came back 2 weeks ago, he's out the party again. So there's that. Either way, they also wanted to have a fight, and at first Seth Rollins was really scared until his brain kicked in and he went, wait, there's only two of you, there's four of us. Sure, if you want to get in this ring, I will whoop your ass. Unfortunately, he had called it wrong because Samoa and Kevin, they weren't just gonna go out there until they balanced out the numbers game and they introduced their brand new friends, the Viking, Express, Experience, Warriors, Raiders, whatever the hell you want to call them these days. And those four got in the ring, they beat up Buddy Murphy, they beat up the Authors of Pain, and they stood there all like, yeah, we are the best. And don't get me wrong, this irked me a little bit because it's classic WWE where stuff just happens. I mean, why are our tag team champions now invested in this? There was no explanation whatsoever, but given this gets more confusing, I shall wait till then to talk about it. That also ties into the fact that when this was done, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy challenged the Viking Raiders for their tag team championships. And again, give it 8 minutes or so. Amazingly, we were then into our ladder match with Andrade versus Rey Mysterio with the United States title hanging above the ring. And I have seen some people online moan about this and go, well, it wasn't very smooth, is it? Are you kidding me? These two men, these two human beings who have flesh and bleed, try to kill one another. You can all kiss my behind if you think I ain't gonna give this an up. They wasted no time either because before you could even blink, Andrade was having the ladder drop kicked into his face, and then minutes later, Rey Mysterio was Hurricane Rana-ing him into another one, and he landed right on his stupid neck. From there, they were just cracking each other with the now so-called weapons, and yeah, then we got to the sunset flip powerbomb spot. And everyone's going, they botched it. They botched it. This is do we forget what's going on here? This is two men on top of a ladder trying to powerbomb the other one onto another ladder. So no, it was not the most perfect or smooth thing I've ever seen in my life, but take it for what it is. It's just crazy. We've gone too far, we need to drag it back in. And that all worked as well because after Andrade had been smashed through a ladder and Rey Mysterio started climbing up another one to get to the belt, the fans started to go crazy, and they would have gone more crazy if he had won, but he didn't because Andrade got back up. He removed the ladder, which left Rey Mysterio dangling from the sky. Yes, the masked man is up there. Eventually he fell down and Mr. Tranquilo went for a powerbomb, but Rey kind of reversed it. They kind of just fell on a clump on the floor, but again, I don't really care. And unfortunately, the Lena Vega then just got involved. She was sitting on top of the ladder, which stopped Rey from getting to the belt. She got involved, Andrade took advantage. He won the damn thing. After DDT, Hammerlock DDTing Rey through another ladder. Took his head, smashed it into bits, like a coconut. So he retains, and let's not forget, this was the opening match on Raw. No moaning, people. I liked it. Andrade went full-on bad guy afterwards, and he exposed the concrete, and he was going to DDT Mysterio's head into that until just some random dude in the crowd got over there, and he was wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. But then he pulled it off, and can you believe it? It was the Repo Man. If only it was, man. I would have done backflips. I would have jumped for joy. It was the returning Humberto Carrillo. And, no one really reacted massively to this, but that's not his fault. He weren't really booked very well when he was here last time. He whooped the United States champion ass and chased him away before tending to Rey Mysterio, and I would assume we're going to get that match at the Royal Rumble. And look, it could be okay. I appreciate the fact that WWE is trying to get Humberto over. I will keep both my fingers crossed. Aleister Black then Black Master Jabba in around about 8 seconds, and that sounds way more dodgy than I mean it to. I can't even give this anything. He came out, he kicked the dude in the head, and then he left. He's quite cool, he's got an aura about him. That's that. Talk about a dog, I guess, or that time I went to a park and played on a swing. I just hope that WWE has a proper plan here. As for the idea with Brock Lesnar this week, well, it's a bit meh. Down. We don't even need to spend that long on it because I'm pretty sure this was just one of those things that happened on this episode and will never be referred to again. But yeah, Paul Heyman and Brock were out there, and Heyman, for some reason, decided to explain what the Royal Rumble was. He was like, 30 men will enter the ring. Brock Lesnar will be number 1, and then Brock Lesnar will eliminate 29 other superstars by throwing them over the rope, and then Brock Lesnar will be the number 1 contender. But because Brock Lesnar is also the champion, he won't have to fight anybody at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman doesn't talk like that. But when he was doing that, Ricochet, of all people, came out, and he was like, I ain't scared of you, Brock. I ain't scared of you at all. So Lesnar booted him in the balls and said, nope, I'm not scared of you either. And that was the whole thing. And there was this tease that they were going to have a proper fight beforehand, but what did this do for our good pal Rick O'Shea? And what did this do for Brock Lesnar? I'm pretty sure WWE just realized, oh wait, we need to have Lesnar on the show, because he's going to be a big deal at the Rumble, but we have no plans, so they just picked a random superstar and threw him out there to the wolves. Also made Rick look a little bit stupid, like he went all out there like a tough guy and ended up on the floor. Randy Orton was then in the back putting Drew McIntyre over huge, although he did say he's not as good as an RKO. I mean, grammatically that was all over the place, but this bit is getting it up. Because afterwards, Orton and Drew McIntyre did have a match, and I was really entertained. There was this really good bit when Drew just slapped Orton right in his chest, or you should call it a chop, I suppose. And Randy hated it so much, which he'd also referenced in his promo beforehand, he kind of just broke and stared off into the distance. This also actually feels like we're giving Drew McIntyre a proper push. I feel like I'm getting intrigued. I also knew even before I heard ding 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 that there was no way I was getting a proper finish here, so when I didn't, I wasn't that disappointed. And after a pretty damn good superplex, out came the OC and they just started beating everybody up until Randy Orton was like, nah, I ain't having this, and he chased them away with a chair. The weird thing was, I don't think this match was ever officially stopped, it just ended because a bunch of dudes ran down. And then Drew McIntyre was really stupid. He was looking at Randy like, oh, Randy, thanks so much. That's not how he talks. Randy, thank you so much. And you already know what Orton did. He slammed him with the RKO. What were you thinking, Drew? McIntyre admitted afterwards that that was a stupid decision, but this Sunday at the Royal Rumble, he ain't going to be making any more stupid decisions, and he hopes to meet Randy Orton in the Rumble so he can claim or kick his head off. And don't worry, Drew, you obviously will. This stuff's all predetermined. All it takes is someone writing it down, and it's gonna happen. Charlotte promo next. She just said she's gonna win the Royal Rumble. The weirdest bit was at one point, Becky Lynch just walked into frame and grinned at Charlotte like that. It was really, really strange. And then walked off, and Charlotte was like, yeah, I don't care about her. She screwed me over last year, but no one's gonna screw me over this year because I'm Charlotte Flair, the Queen. Woo, down. It didn't really get me super pumped for the Rumble, but more importantly, this and everything else that Charlotte has done over the last few weeks just pose such a huge question. So let's answer it in the only way I know how. Hello everybody, my name is Simon Miller, and you may remember me from some ups and down segments like Nobody Talks Like That and Nobody Stands Like That. But today I'm here with the debut episode of Heel or Face, the game show where we look at a WWE superstar, we monitor their movements, and try and work out if they're a good guy or a bad guy, because when you are watching the TV, it's impossible to tell. This week we have the one and only Charlotte Flair, daughter of Rick, and lady who is on the path to having 72,144 title reigns before she does retire. But the big question, the one I would like answering, is she a heel or is she a face? Because sometimes she comes out there and she acts like a face, but then when she talks in her demeanor, well, that's all heelish. So, get up my heel or face wheel, let's spin it and figure out if she's a heel or a face. And there it goes, round and round like two people dancing, having a good time. Where's it gonna land? Nobody knows. As it turns out, yes, this week, Charlotte Flair was a heel. I'm gonna tell you I don't know what's gonna happen in 7 days or at the Royal Rumble, but I am excited. Thank you for joining me for Heel or Face. I hope to see you soon, or actually, I hope to never see you again. I would like it if this was obvious just from watching my entertainment television program. Lynch then walked to the ring to have a match with Kairi Sane, and I enjoyed all of this. It started with a promo from the man who, like Johnny Nash, can see clearly now because the mist has gone. Again, that's absolutely nonsensical. If somebody spat toxins in my face, I wouldn't come out the other end and go, oh, I'm seeing better now. I'd just be super pissed off. But her point was she now understands that Asuka is scared of Becky Lynch, and that's why she has to resort to green goop. And I also like the match that she had against Kairi Sane, simply because of Asuka. My word, she was on fire. I mean, again, there was a lot of confusing stuff here because she was just waiting on Becky Lynch and the ref was going, well, I could do something, but I don't really want to. I mean, she should have been DQ'd. But when she was done, do you know what the Empress of Tomorrow did? She got on the top turnbuckle and just watched. She was like flipping Batman staring over Gotham City. And of course, that was always going to tie into the ending. At one point, Becky just ran up to her and went, pop, and knocked her off her perch. And Kairi Sane was so shocked by this, she allowed herself to get put in the disarmor, and she tapped out like a fish out of water. Asuka wasn't having any of that though, because she got back in the ring and she just tried to kick Becky Lynch's head off. And I tell you, the good narrative here is that Becky Lynch goes into the Royal Rumble and loses her championship to Asuka. I mean, it's not going to happen, but just being like Shakespeare, damn it, the tragedy. Asuka was then interviewed afterwards, and it's gotta be one of the dumbest questions we have ever seen on Raw. I can't remember who did it, but they went, Asuka, do you really want to be the type of champion that sneak attacks from behind? Is that who you want to be, and who spits stuff out of her mouth? And Asuka was just like, yes, I do. I mean, she went crazy in Japanese, but what an absolutely ridiculous thing to ask. Anyway, Asuka's big point was, Becky Lynch ain't ready for me. Right, let's rewind the clock back to the beginning of Ups and Downs. You remember what I said. Let's talk about this tag match, because boy howdy was it the definition of ups and downs. Let's get into it. Because indeed, yes, your new tag team champions are Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins. They had a pretty kick-ass match with the Viking Raiders. I got a massive kick out of it. We also got rid of Owens, Joe, and the AOP because they just brawled out the arena, so we could focus on these four, and the finish came when Seth Rollins gave the curb stomp to Erick, rolled him back in the ring, and Buddy Murphy got the visual pinfall, the 1, 2, 3. That gets it up. But also, what the hell, logically, what on earth are we doing? We have 4 people in Seth Rollins' group, and 2 of them, there they are, 2 of them, don't know why I did that, but 2 of them are an actual tag team who would benefit massively from being the World Tag Team Champions. Also, if you do that, you can then have AOP versus the Vikings, like the Book guys versus the old Raider dudes. They can go off into their own program, whereas Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy can go after singles titles. Because if you are serious about this group, and you want them to be around a long time, the ideal scenario is you have the AOP, the tag champs, I don't know, I guess Buddy Murphy is US champ, and Seth Rollins, he's your world champ. It also just felt so rushed because the Viking Raiders inserted themselves into this and then lost their belts around about 3 minutes later. So you just know it was a last minute call. Because of that, down. And look, I am really happy to see Buddy Murphy getting a title. Don't get me wrong, it put a massive smile on my face. The dude deserves it. And I also came up with a way to justify and explain all of this, as I always do. Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to another episode of Cooking with me, Simon Miller. And as always, the question is, what shall we be making this week? We take our wooden spoon and we put it in our bowl. Maybe it'll be a lovely salmon en croûte, maybe a wonderful spaghetti bolognese, or mother's favorite, macaroni cheese. And as we stir, we go into our bowl and we've cooked a mouse Makes perfect sense. And we've cooked this, a lovely red nose, which I shall put on my nose right now, because why the hell not? But also, we look deep into the bowl and we find this, and we simply say 3 simple words. Stuff just happens. If you're now wondering why you started watching a Monday Night Raw review show, and then it turned into a very strange cooking segment that didn't actually make sense, remember, it's because much like Monday Night Raw, in any walk of life, stuff just happens. And if you're struggling, trying to figure out why Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy would win the tag team championships when in their team, in their group, they have a tag team who need to win the tag team championships, just tell yourself, stuff just happens, and call us at 0800 Stuff Just Happens. Somebody is always waiting to take your call. They all celebrate afterwards with the Authors of Pain, so I guess they just ran away from their brawl with Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, and now Seth Rollins is going to go on to the Raw Rumble and win. Yeah, right. The Street Profits then did another one of these SNL skits, and it had a laughter track, and I'm just going to say this, I thought it was terrible. I thought it was awful. I know, come at me, call me an idiot, call me an asshole. I just think the Street Profits should be in the ring. I think they should be pushed as a tag team, and it's not their fault. They didn't write it. They were given this stuff, and R-Truth was an outside reporter. Just stop doing these. They're really, really, really good wrestlers. Let them wrestle. Down. And then Matt Hardy got squashed by Erick Rowan, and I kind of think, unless I'm being worked, and that's cool, I'm a wrestling fan, I like being worked, that Matt Hardy may be out the door, because not only is he getting treated badly on television, but he also did a tweet that said, hey, I may not have that many matches left in WWE. The thing in the cage bit Rowan again at one point, and this week he couldn't handle it, and he started smashing the thing around, which was a bit untoward given that until this point he's been really protective, and then he claw slammed Hardy, and that was it, 1, 2, 3. So now he's squashing known people as opposed to random jobbers, but I still don't know what's in the cage. Maybe I'm in the cage. Down. Owens and Joe then put themselves in the Rumble and both said to each other, if you get in my way, I know we're friends here, but it's every man for himself. But I can kind of see the scenario where actually what we get out of the Rumble is Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens going against Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins for the tag team champions. And despite my reservations, they will be really good matches. And then Mojo Rawley was here with his 24/7 title. The Singh brothers tried to roll him up, but we're doing something a little bit different here. So instead, he just ate those guys alive. He threw them into backstage stuff. And we'll see where WWE goes with this. I just appreciate the fact it hasn't gone back to R-Truth. I love R-Truth, but we got to do something new. This is new. As for our main event, though, what the hell was that? Down. It was Rusev and Liv Morgan taking on Lana and Bobby Lashley, and thankfully it was just a normal mixed tag, because remember last week, Lana was just saying, we challenge you to something, and I thought WWE were going to come up with something well stupid, but they didn't. But even with that said, what are we doing to Rusev? What are we doing to Ruru? Why don't we care about him at all? Because this was over and done with in 3 minutes, and who was laying on their back? Who lost for the second week in a row? That's right, it was Rusev. On Rusev Day 2, and yeah, Lana held his leg, which distracted him, which allowed Bobby Lashley to smash him with a spear. But what is going on in Rusev's life right now? Let's look at it within the worlds of kayfabe. Lana cheated on him, right? Lana cheated on him. Liv Morgan was also involved in this because she was getting it on with Lana, who was Rusev's wife. Bobby Lashley also did that. Don't know who that is. Bobby Lashley also did that. And here, he can't even win a match. He is an absolute chump. And there was some teasing that Lashley was accidentally going to punch Lana because Rusev and her were having a row, but he got out of the way and Lashley was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But yeah, all you need to know is that at the end of the day, for the second week in a row, like I said, I'm repeating myself, Rusev is speared and Rusev lost. I think this is the low point for this, and that is saying something. I don't even care that it was in the main event. So many people seem so mad that it was the main event. But in a 3-hour show, you could argue that less people are actually watching in minute 180 than they are in, I don't know, minute 90 or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. It's gone too long. I don't know why Rusev cares. And why do they even need to have another match? If I was Bobby Lashley, I'd be like, no, bro, I've taken your wife, I've beaten you twice, I'm going away to do different things. And Rusev should really go, yeah, good point. I tried and I failed. So I did not get that. I did not get it at all. And I thought, given this was the go-home show for the Raw Rumble, it lacked a certain something to get me pumped. Again, there were good bits in it, the Seth Rollins group, but even that had the weird tag title change. I I feel like Raw was a little bit, I don't know what the right word would be. Well, misdirected. We'll go with misdirected. It was a sad day. There's my overall arrow. I hate doing it. I know. It sucks. It's getting it down. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles. There's loads. I tell you, you'll be there for days. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, to stay up to date with all the wrestling news. Watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. We will keep you entertained, even when it's freezing cold. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching me, and it is Royal Rumble week, so keep your eyes peeled, not literally, it will hurt, for more Royal Rumble content.